Moral compass.
Private first class debauchery.
That's fair. I'm just a private.
I'm like the most responsible one here today, boys.
Yeah, 'cause you don't leave the house.
I left last night
Why?
to go to my parents.
Welcome to the Ass Casters podcast, as it is now officially titled. We can be found at Ass Casters, ASSCASTERS on Twitter. And again, ass is not a porn term, just a simple acronym for Andy, myself, Schwammy, and also Scrode. So we're going to dive into some fun topics today, talk about what just took place with the end of the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll jump into what is going to be hopping in for next season with teams, what to look out for, maybe some draft prospects, and then we may hop all over the map for some other topics after that. But first thing first, Schwammy, victory lap time.
Woo! That was fantastic finals. In my opinion, obviously. Not for a Lightning fan, though, but yeah, for me. That was amazing. 21 years since the last time the Avs won, so this one means a lot, especially for someone like me who, growing up, I was 11 years old when they last won the Cup. So seeing it as an adult kind of changes your perspective on it. Because you, as a kid, I mean, you don't know any better. You think, oh, this could happen next year or, like 5 years. Nope, that was 21 years. So it was a pretty awesome celebration, and we can get into that later. But no, I can't describe it. It was amazing. As you could see, the Avs had a pretty good time during their cup celebration the week after.
How did it go? I think I saw Landy having the Swedish flag on the street.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I really saw. Who got banged up, Shaway?
Well, besides the cup a couple of times, everyone did. During the parade for sure. So, I'll say Byram got pretty twisted. He was in the crowd, not in the crowd, but he was high-fiving people. And I don't know if you guys seen his face, but he looks like a high schooler. He looks like a kid still. He just turned 21. He tried to run back to one of the fire trucks, and one of the cops stopped him and said, no, get back in the crowd. And everyone's like, yo, no, man, that's Bo, dude. He's a player, man. And the cop didn't believe him, but everyone from the truck was yelling, no, get him up here. No, he's fine. So,
and in your impression of the Avs fan, or the Avs cops, they are already fucking smoking weed.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in that state, that or,
Hey, man.
doing meth up in the mountains with Sasquatch.
Meth in the mountains.
Yeah.
I like that. That should be on a shirt.
Thank you.
Doing meth in the mountains.
That's my favorite Don Ginver song.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. But no, it was a pretty good week of, I guess, jubilation, if you would. People will knock the Avs for, maybe a couple dents and dings with the cup, but it's been through hell. Let's be honest. Especially now that we're in the age of phones with cameras, and that now everyone has one, so anything that happens can be posted online within seconds. Imagine if that was happening during the 90s, 80s, 70s. All the debauchery that was going on with the Oilers teams of the 80s, the Red Wings teams of the 90s. I mean, who knows what could have been happening with some of those guys. That's why they have podcasts where they talk about, well, what'd you do with the cup after you guys won it? Well, so-and-so didn't take his equipment off for 24 hours. And then they went to Boulder, Colorado, and smoked a bowl. No, it's just, because people were giving, McDermott shit for falling backwards the other day.
Which was awesome.
Yes, but I'm like, how many times has that happened anyway? but now it's out on the interwebs. And
Well, you have to think 35 pounds above your head, and you're kind of hoisting it backwards.
And you're drunk.
And you're that. Well, that's you're drunk. Your momentum's going to take you back, and
you have 2 natty lights in your hand, Andy, and you
I
sometimes
almost fell backwards just taking that last swing.
and you almost fall down. So
you are lacking potassium this morning.
Yes.
So I guess it's a quick question, which I know it's not on our agenda, but like, I guess if you see athletes, anybody celebrating out like that, isn't it like shouldn't it be almost an unwritten rule not to put your phone away?
To put your phone away?
That, or to not post whatever you're about to.
I would.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree.
It's almost like anybody on a bachelorette party.
Maybe not during like the parade.
But that's different. That's public.
Yeah. But when you're going to the bar with the boys, or having a neighborhood party or a town party.
A town party.
Well,
What are you doing tonight? The town party.
Out in the boondocks.
Okay, that sounds.
We're gonna have meth in the mountains.
A Stanley Cup tradition unlike any other. Meth in the mountains.
From the voice of Jim Nance.
Here's the hail and veil.
Those people would have the worst teeth of all time.
Yes.
Meth mouth and hockey pucks to the teeth.
Especially when you go further south to like Pueblo or La Junta.
They have no teeth.
But no, it was.
They are
So,
soup eaters.
so I was off one game from my prediction. I thought it was gonna. I mean, not to say that Game 5 wasn't a good game, but Game 6 was kind of what I was expecting more for Game 5. But if you listen to some of the comments and interviews from the team, they were maybe a little bit on edge. They were a little nervous, but then once Game 6 or Game 5 was over, they were more comfortable in Game 6. Which, I mean, that happens with teams that don't have that kind of experience. So it was just awesome to see a bunch of those guys win it, especially guys who've been around forever. Eric Johnson, Gabe Landeskog, Nate McKinnon, I guess JT Comfer, excuse me, who's been around.
He had
a good playoffs.
Yeah.
He did. He had his moments. And, just seeing guys like that who are with the organization, just trying to think, like Darcy Kemper, who's in his 30s, who was, a long time Minnesota Wild prospect, then went to the Arizona Coyotes for a little bit. And, it's good to see him win, especially after taking that stick to the eye in the first round.
Yeah.
Guy like Pablo Francois, who came over, wasn't even a draft pick, came over a few years ago on a free agency deal. And, seeing a guy like him get 6 wins in the playoffs was amazing. Your backup goalie got you 6 wins.
Yeah, and you think a team that only lost 4 times in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
you'd think they'd have their starter for the whole time, but
Right. Injuries played a part.
yeah.
But that happens to everybody.
I was very impressed by the Avalanche having it been their first time in the Cup. I thought they handled it very well. I thought they were composed for most of the series. Didn't look like the moment was too big for them ever.
No, and I know they probably don't say this, but maybe internally, getting past the second round was a huge weight off their shoulders. Because even though that the next round against the Oilers, that was such like a pond hockey kind of series, they still handled it well. I mean, they were still able to overcome any adversity playing against McDavid and Draisaitl, and and then after that, it was just kind of like, well, the sky's the limit for them. So it was a fucking awesome playoffs to watch for when your team actually wins. It's phenomenal. So, and I know you can't say that being a Golden Knights fan or a Vancouver Canucks fan, Andy, but
Whatever you are.
But what I can say, the playoffs were amazing. I think the NHL caught good fortune this playoffs in the fact that there were amazing games from the beginning of the playoffs all the way to the end, and trying to butt up against what was happening with the NBA. NBA playoffs were absolute trash.
dog water.
They were terrible, and when NHL is going to take a look back at how the season went, one of the things that they're going to see is that their ratings year to year from last playoffs, the numbers were significantly higher about the amount of eyeballs that were actually on this year's playoffs. And so we'll see what that means moving forward for the league. But definitely great exposure for the league as a whole. Colorado has probably got some new fans. Tampa's probably got some new fans holding on for as long as they did. We've talked multiple times about Tampa was the Michael Myers that you have to kill them. You have to kill them. And
Cut their head off.
They
Seriously.
refused to go down. And one of the things that was the downfall for the Lightning, the Coach Cooper referred to it a couple times subtly about the amount of injuries that this team had during the playoffs. Bellemare, meniscus injury, starting playoffs. Cirelli, shoulder AC joint sprain versus New York Rangers.
That's a painful one, too.
I've had that one.
And if you want, also Cirelli dislocated other shoulder versus Colorado.
Other shoulder.
He has a third one. It's okay.
Kucherov, MCL sprain versus Colorado. Paul, shoulder AC joint sprain versus New York Rangers. And MCL sprain versus Colorado. Perry, shoulder AC joint sprain versus the Rangers. Point, significant quad tear versus Toronto. That stings.
That's a Sunday.
That's a tear, significant tear.
That's a Sunday injury for you, Andy.
And McDonough, mangled finger, if you want one of those injuries. So Michael Myers took
No dysentery?
many beatings. Snake bite, I think, for one of the other players, potentially. Who knows? But congrats to Tampa for hanging in there. Colorado did a great job taking them out. And Schwammy, let's not be subtle about, obviously not where you just celebrating, but you're also famous because you know the coach. So let's
Yes.
talk about how you basically you guys are BFFs.
Yeah, me and Jared Bednar are just totes, BFFs, like all the way.
You were
No,
with them in the ECHL, weren't you?
not necessarily. Let me reiterate what you're saying. Let me explain. So a couple years ago, the ECHL had their All-Star game and ECHL Hall of Fame induction back in. This was January 2020, right before the pandemic happened.
Good times.
Yeah, and he was being inducted, and so one of the employees at the time for the Thunder, they knew I was a huge Avs fan, but I wasn't necessarily going to go to the event for the Hall of Fame induction. I was just going to go for everything afterwards. They gave up their seat for me so I could go to the induction, which was very, very cool of them. His name is Anthony Bench, who did that for me. So, Anthony, if you ever hear this, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to go, because I'm only a game day staff. I'm not a full-time staff member, those seats were reserved for them. So that was really cool. And then being able to talk to Jared just a little bit. I talked to him maybe 2 minutes. I took a picture with him. I just saying how how's it feel being able to coach in the NHL. I just kind of like, how's Kel McCarr doing and stuff. I just asked a couple things like that, and I'm like,
Fanboy.
yeah. Well, it's kind of hard. I don't know. Everyone's different. I thought I'd be able to ask better questions or just kind of be more funny, but I was just kind of like, man, Nathan McKinnon, he's pretty good, ain't he? but no,
He's swell.
He likes to play.
but you know what? Jared was so humble being there, and he was having a good time. And I don't know if you guys saw his speech at the parade, but he was very emotional, like choked up. And that was almost the exact same way he was during the Hall of Fame induction. From the ECHL all the way to NHL, it's cool to see a guy like that. Not only move up, but it just didn't forget where he came from.
And you don't hear a person say a bad or negative word about him. And the boys in the locker room seem to love him. They say he's a player's coach, but he can get on you when you're playing like shit.
So he'd be on us all the time.
Yeah, I would be in his office every day. But it seems like he's just a genuine, humble is a word we heard a lot. I think you said it just now, Shawway. Just seems like a good, solid dude.
Yeah.
And kind of getting back to the point Andy made earlier about where this goes for what this does for the NHL going forward. If you were one of the new fans or new people who happened to stumble on ABC on primetime during the NHL playoffs, during the finals.
If you didn't have cable and somehow stumbled on it.
Yeah. If you're, if you just happen to end up on ABC after a domestic squabble or after eating your Stouffer's dinner for the night.
Hayesville.
How did you find McKinnon? Oh, after a squabble.
I was frolicking in Hayesville.
But while you were frolicking, you probably had kids and even adults watch this Colorado Avalanche team for the first time, and you can tell. You don't have to be a hockey fan, but you can tell McKinnon 29 and Makar, he's number 8, right?
Yeah, 8.
Number 8. Those dudes are just they should be in a different league. Those two and Connor McDavid just need to go start their own league. They need to start the Live Hockey Tour, and maybe without the blood money, but
Isn't it funny that the Saudi Arabian League is named Live when pretty much everybody dies?
Yeah, especially if you're from Qatar.
It's supposed to be vile. It's vile backwards.
Vile. But no, I think you're right. It's just, you can tell, like, the players that are on a different level. Kind of, and to give Tampa credit, Vasilevsky.
But what 3 awesome players to watch in a great competitive series. I mean, back to Andy's point, just a solid point going forward for the NHL.
Well, and I and this is being a biased hockey fan, and, you know, I used to like the NBA back when, I know this is pretty, I don't know how to say it, cliche or cheesy, but back when, like, Michael Jordan was in the league. That was when the NBA, and in the 2000s when the Lakers were, you know, getting their three-peat and everything like that.
Hell yeah.
But it just seems like the product for the NBA is just so bland nowadays.
So going down that rabbit hole a little bit,
and I think just to cap off my point, I think the NHL had a better playoffs than the NBA.
Oh,
no matter what the ratings were,
close.
And the ratings for the NHL were astronomically better compared to last year, where you could barely find a game on CNBC. Now you can find NHL games on TNT, ESPN, ESPN Plus, and the ABC where the finals were on, and I think that so much helped the NHL as a whole for their image and their just getting out into the audience. And so NHL is back where they belong. People are going to give ESPN shit no matter what, but I love that they're back there. And TNT's has a great broadcast
and
too.
Getting to TNT's broadcast. I love John Buccigross over at ESPN. And he even sent me a present a few years ago. But besides the point,
some golf balls.
Here's a tee marker or ball marker.
But I mean, to that say, TNT, everything they have put out as far as basketball production post game and NHL production post game has been phenomenal. Paul Bissonnette does a great job, kind of making it light. Wayne Gretzky gives the panel credibility. Talkett does a great job, kind of giving the coach's perspective, giving the grinding perspective.
Who was it that shaved their head?
That was
Paul Bissonnette.
That was awesome.
That was Biz.
That was great.
Oh, what's his name? Anson Carter's also good on that too. Just to get another player perspective as well. So give him credit. But I think so. I was going to say the best part of the NBA is the TNT broadcasts, honestly, because that's probably the best.
In sports.
That's probably the best sports crew out there.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the best thing about watching the NBA, honestly, is just watching Chuck, Shaq, and all them give each other shit.
NBA's got a major problem on their hands. And
besides China.
Yeah. So, multiple problems. So,
China.
NBA is not necessarily considered a league where analytics come into play a lot, but they are in play. And what's happening in the NBA is that the analytics folks have said that it's three-pointers, live or die, and it's resulting in some terrible basketball. When teams are shooting under 30% from three-point range, it's resulting in some awful circumstances, blowouts, 20-point, 30-point margins on games, and it's unwatchable basketball.
Well, I just think their product is kind of bland and sanitized. because it's just kind of go down. And I know there's more to it. Don't get me wrong. And the players are the best players in the world, so they make it look easy. So don't get me wrong. I understand that, but there's just something where one team goes down, shoots a three, good. Goes down, shoots a three, good. And it's kind of like, and I was giving the NBA shit for the longest time for not playing any defense, but I'm like, I was watching a lot the last 2 years, and I'm like, well, honestly, it's not the defense. It's like these guys just can't miss, which is great. That's what you want to see, but it's just kind of like, okay,
can't miss or can't make.
Can't miss.
Okay.
Like like Klay Thompson, Seth Curry, like those guys cannot miss. Devin Booker in Phoenix. I mean, it's amazing to watch, but then after 20 games, you're like, okay, what else is there?
I think not the ESPN. I think the NHL and NBA could learn a lot from each other.
Yeah.
I think the competitive balance and parity in the NHL is something the NBA should desperately seek after, especially after those playoffs we just witnessed.
Is that due to players in the NBA dictating where they go more than the NHL, where it's more of, is it fair to say, more of a humble sport, or the players are more humble, or they're kind of like just kind of letting the organization dictate where they go, compared to maybe holding an organization hostage unless they go somewhere?
The dollars in the NBA are totally different.
Oh, sure, and I understand that, and the NBA is making astronomical money compared to the NHL. But I mean, is there something to be said where maybe players shouldn't hold teams hostage in the NBA, telling them what to do?
I personally don't think it's a problem. And Chestevez, I'd be interested to pick your brain a little bit on what you're referring to about the competitive balance in the NBA, because I think they've got. I don't think they've got a problem with competitive balance. They've
in
got
the NBA?
No, I mean they're creating super teams every other season by free agency. Brooklyn Nets came up out of absolutely nowhere. Miami Heat back in the day came up out of absolutely nowhere. And it's going to continue to happen. Wherever Kevin Durant lands next is going to be probably favored to be the next favorited team.
I hear he's going to the Avalanche next year to play.
With Nate McKinnon.
See that motherfucker on skates.
Well, here's where let's just look up. I'm going to pull up the league rankings. But here's where, I'm not seeing parity. In the NBA playoffs, you had games that were, to your point, if you're not shooting the ball at a clip of 40% from three, that might be a little high.
A little high.
But if you're not hitting a decent clip or whatever it may be, you're not going to get rebounds more than likely. You're not going to establish a presence in the paint. Your game plan is done.
Mm-hmm. And
that leads to shitty basketball, shitty low scores, and then you have games that, like we saw throughout the NBA playoffs, that are misbalanced or unbalanced no matter what. Whereas in the NHL playoffs, you had, every game, well, not every game, there were some blowouts, but it seemed like every series, for the most part, had great competitive balance.
Except for Florida.
Except for Florida going to the titty bar and just blowing what they did, blowing their President's Trophy run.
So your point on competitive balance...
They must have went to Michelle's beach house last night.
So your point on competitive balance in the NBA isn't necessarily from a team perspective; it's from a performance, like actual game.
Yes.
Okay. That I'm on board with.
But yeah, I think you're right with that. And plus, there's so many teams that live and die by one thing, like die by the three and such like that. Where I appreciate teams that can beat you in multiple ways in the NBA. Kind of the same way in any sport, honestly. But like when the Bucks won the championship last year against the Phoenix Suns, they were a team that could shoot the three, but like they have a guy like is it Giannis or Giannis? I can't pronounce his name. Giannis, sorry, Giannis. And Giannis, yeah, he is another world of an athlete too. But he can beat you in so many ways. I love basketball when they attack the basket and then create more opportunities that way. Whether it's sucking the defense in, then throwing it out for a three instead of just kind of working the perimeter. I appreciate that more because I think it takes more effort, in a way. And it at one point the NBA was more of a physical game. Now if you touch a guy, Not only does he flop, but everyone's asking for a technical foul, and we're doing 12 different fucking reviews, making sure a finger didn't get poked in someone's butthole and stuff like that. It's just it gets too much.
It's a 15-yarder.
Yeah, it is. And you get a penalty shot.
Yeah, it's a rough penalty to take.
But I mean, yeah.
Oil check.
But I appreciated the game back when it was a little more physical, and you could. I mean, there was some physicality allowed, and not. I mean, there's not too much. I understand. You don't want guys just hauling ass into other players and just taking them out intentionally. But I just appreciate teams that can utilize that kind of part of the game, but also being able to be more of a finesse game too.
Well, and I think in all sports we're getting away from the more violent aspects. And in basketball, it may not be considered violent, but the physical component, hand checking, hard fouls, the intimidation factor that played heavily into the late 80s and into the early 90s.
The bad boy era.
The one point I wanted to make that the NHL could learn from the NBA, the player exposure in the NBA is so awesome, and how they are able to promote their stars is something I wish the NHL would adapt to. They have, and I don't know, it might be the culture of the NHL, it might be the culture of hockey, where everyone's a little bit closed lip until everyone gets in the locker room. But I think the NHL could learn and benefit greatly by marketing its stars, giving them a platform, just to not even to talk, but just show their face, show what they're about, give them personality, give them something for fans to latch onto. I think that will be more important as this generation goes on, as it's going to be more about players building their brands, kids getting excited about those brands of the player, and them being interested in the sport via that.
Is it a case where the NBA seems more accessible because let's compare it to hockey because it's the easiest thing we can compare it to, and I think not only the accessibility of the players, but like you can have floor seats. Literally, there are people on the floor, me to you, away from Seth Curry. Where in the NHL, there's literally a wall that's in between. It's not as accessible that way. But I think you're right. I think the NHL has a problem with not being able to promote their players more, and they need to be in the, just the kind of pop culture and everything a lot more.
I don't think, going back decades, I don't think the NHL's ever been good at promoting their stars.
They haven't been. When you are asking Train to play at certain events, and you're like, okay, we're about 20 years.
It's not even in the 90s.
Yeah, I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And don't get me wrong, like when they had Green Day, I don't know, play a couple of songs for the playoffs back in like 2019. I like Green Day, but at the same time, it's like that's about 10 years behind like the times. Like
you're marketing to millennials who.
Don't make fun of millennials.
I'm a millennial. Showers, the whole ass is millennial. The ass casters are millennials.
So anyway,
but yeah, the NHL's just behind the times in that.
So, fast forwarding into what's to come next year for the NHL. So, man, it doesn't seem like any of the real power players from this year are going to lose a step next year. Colorado, not losing anything, to my knowledge.
Well,
they have Young. We've talked about that.
I guess if you're talking about core, you're right, yes. But there's a lot of free agents that they need to re-sign or figure out what to do with.
What are they going to do with Nichushkin?
I think no. This is no knock to Kadri. It's more of like go get paid, but we can't pay you what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I think that's what's gonna happen, and unless he takes some ungodly, stupid, team-friendly deal. But I think Nichushkin is gonna be a point of a guy that to get back because he was just money. Not only money in the playoffs, but this year he had career year.
Money is the right word.
Yes, in this topic, but he is going to be a guy that the Avs want back, maybe compared to I don't know, like a Nico Sturm or something like that. No offense to Sturm either, but he just plays a bigger role, and he can play wherever you want in the top six in your lineup, and he kills penalties. Big body. Yeah, I think he's going to be someone that you want to bring back. And then also goaltending wise, I don't know if the Avs feel like they can get back Darcy Kemper at a team-friendly deal or just go on to Francouz as your starter and see how that goes, because they have Justus Annunen in the wings waiting.
Do they even want Kemper back?
I don't know. That is a good question. I feel it kind of seemed like Joe Sakic mentioned him coming back or wanting him back. Just to put a bow on it, I think, the Avs have a lot of big deals to get through. Nichushkin, Burakovsky, Kadri, Kemper, just to name a few. I think even Josh Manson as well. But there's just a few guys on that roster that they have to focus on, and it's going to be maybe just 2 or 3 guys are going to be able to come back, because not everyone can, especially in the next few years when you have to give McKinnon his extension, and a couple other guys who are going to be looking for extensions as well that have been on your roster for quite a bit. So especially like after their rookie deals, such as Devon Taves or Alex Newhook, guys like that. So it's just kind of up in the air on who they're going to be able to bring back. And, as long as you have a good core, which the Avs do, I think they'll be fine. It's just depending on, it just puts slotting people in certain positions to succeed. And Joe Sakic has proved he can bring in anybody, and he knows who to kind of bring in, trusting his scouting staff to fill in those roles.
Does McKinnon take a team-friendly deal?
I think now, especially now since they won a cup, I think he'll take more of a team-friendly deal. Obviously, he's going to get paid a lot more than what he's getting paid now.
What is he getting paid right now?
Man, I think it's like $6-7 million.
No way.
I think so. But at the time that he signed it, he would even tell you that he was not playing his best hockey. So he thought it was a fair deal. And so now he is on a team-friendly deal as it is. So I can see him getting, at least $10 million a year. But I don't know, for him, everyone doesn't say everyone says it's not about the money, but what does Jim Rome say? It's about the money. So we'll just see how the Cole Harbor kid does.
Is there any reason to think that Tampa won't be in the same position again next year? What does next year look like for them?
Well, apparently beat the fuck up.
Get healthy.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, which is always dangerous, I think Palat is going to be difficult for them to sign, and I believe he becomes a RAF after...
I don't know if it's this year or next.
I think this year.
Yeah, I think it is.
But their core will be intact. They have the best playoff goalie in the world right now. I think they'll still be a team to play with. I think it'll be a Michael Myers, but maybe it'll be one of the more poor John Carpenter films. Maybe like the fourth Michael
Halloween
Myers film.
3,
Yeah,
the Pumpkin of Doom.
That's the one that just throws you off.
What was the Friday the 13th where he's in New York City? Like, is it Manhattan?
That was Friday the 13th.
Jason Takes Manhattan.
I read a paper about that.
Where he punched the guy's head off.
Finish him! I mean, I wrote a paper about masculinity and pop culture about that.
That's hilarious.
I don't think I want to read that.
And no one did. I don't think anyone has.
So, any team that might come up from maybe perspective that no one's expecting them to do as good as they might next year? Any up-and-comers? I
guess now the Avs are favorites again for next year. Are you talking about teams?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think them. I think honestly Edmonton. If they can get a good starting goalie, that consistent starting goalie, I think they can make a damn good run the next couple of years.
What's Toronto look like next year?
Oh, one and done.
Oh.
It's fading faster than Austin Matthews' hairline.
Hey, can't be talking shit on hairlines.
I'm sorry. But no, that's another team, if once they turn the corner, that they could be extremely dangerous as well. They could be a Tampa 2, Part 2.
And TJ, I think you and I talked a little bit about what maybe the NHL draft might look like. Any thoughts that you have on the draft coming up here on the 7th?
As a New Jersey fan, I am super curious to see what they do with that pick. Shane Wright is a serviceable player, and that might be what the New Jersey Devils need.
Is a serviceable player?
Is a serviceable player. I think they could probably get more value out of that pick than Shane Wright. If Shane Wright's taken first by the Canadians and it's the big Slovak, I can't pronounce his last name.
Skotsumotovic.
Yes, that guy, who's like 6'1,000,000 and 250 pounds.
They probably weigh him in stone.
That's all they have to be able to weigh him.
This isn't the strongest man competition. Come on, Agnes Magnarsson.
No, it's Anthony Kansas weigh system.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Talking about your guy,
Draft picks.
Yes. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I think New Jersey is, and God, I hope they are, because this has been rough. I feel like they're on the verge of competing for a playoff spot.
Oh,
that's a big leap right there.
yeah. They were pretty bad this year.
They were banged up and they don't have a goalie. Well, they had 8. But when you have 8 goalies,
You don't have one goalie. Yeah, that's kind of like when you
Well,
have running
actually,
back by
they-
committee.
they've
You don't have a good
updated-
running back.
They've updated that phrase. When you don't have 8 goalies, you have 7.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jean Beliveau.
You're
Well, you
welcome.
might have the E-bug, so it could be 9.
The E-bug?
The emergency backup.
Yeah.
Oh. More millennial talk. Schwammy, any thoughts on the NHL draft?
No, because the Avs aren't picking high for once, so I just kind of let it, what happens. But I think, no, it's going to be interesting to see what Montreal and New Jersey, like where they get their, like what draft picks they end up with, because Shane Wright apparently is not a consensus number 1 right now. And,
I don't think he is either.
I don't know. Like I'm not going to say it's a weak draft by any means, but it's not a strong draft. Because there's, but you have those,
There's always diamonds in the rough.
you're going to,
Jesper Bratz are in there.
By the way, Jesper
Yeah.
Bratt should be the name of a horse.
What was the for?
look what he's done.
He just had 70 points this season. He's 23 years old.
Because no one else on that team can score
Jack Hughes?
when he's not on the fucking IR.
Good point.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And
I know stuff,
That's about all our scoring. So.
but I don't know. And yes, you're right. Jesper is a good player. He's not a great player. He's going to be a role player for the Devils if they finally are able to turn their ship around. But
I think he's second, third liner.
yeah, I think that's a very fair thing to say. But I don't know. This draft is just not nearly as deep as previous drafts, if you ask me. And it's not as, I don't know if this is the word to use, but as a sexy draft, honestly.
Okay, I'll throw this to both of you because my opinion sucks. So for the New Jersey Devils, with given that Shawway and I think the draft talent is down this year, given the Jersey pick at number 2, if Shane Wright if he's there at 2, do you pick him when you have 2 centers already that you spent your top draft picks on, Heischer and Hughes? Do you spend another draft pick on him, or do you trade it and get some core veterans to help out the youth on that team and fill out some, bottom six positions?
But man, do you I don't know how to put this. Do you kind of give up your future to try to win now? And it's almost like once you start going after those veterans and those older guys, yes, they are good for the locker room, but then you kind of get yourself into a tailspin where after 2-3 years you have to consistently replenish those veterans and trying to go after them, and you kind of get yourself into a kind of like a 2000s to 2010s Florida Panthers. And so same thing with like the Coyotes for a while. Like they keep trying to get new, like older guys in for their young team and trying to get their young core kind of a different perspective and different kind of leadership in the locker room, but then you kind of hamper your future by giving up those prospects as well. And so it's just kind of it's a catch-22, honestly. And I don't know if you want to do that yet.
So I've always been of the thought of, if you feel that a player is a can't miss, it doesn't matter what your existing roster talent is. So
yeah, that's fair.
Let's say they've already got 2 people in that spot, and I don't know what they did to get them there. I don't know how high they drafted them. I don't know how much they're getting paid. But at the end of the day, if you've identified a guy and you believe his talent is at a certain threshold, that's got to be your guy. And then you go get him, and then you just let the things fall where they may. And I mean, if you have to trade some of those other pieces away because they're not getting the time, or there's not a fit, or there's no chemistry, that's what you do. But at the end of the day, if you've got somebody if you can draft somebody and he's going to be a solid starter on your team for 5, 10, maybe even beyond those years, you have to do it. You have to do it.
Well, I don't see, if they were to pick Shane Wright, I don't see him starting above Heischer or Hughes in the next.
But can you maybe utilize him as a winger? Like, can he also work? Play with one of those guys as a winger? Because the Avalanche for a while were so deep at center. Not only did they trade some of those prospects away, but they also tried them at different positions to get that talent in the lineup and see what works and what doesn't. So, would you do that? Would you not just maybe start Shane Wright on a wing and see how that goes? Maybe have him and Hughes or Heischer maybe kind of rotate being center in different situations and seeing what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah, I think it would work. I think it'd be more beneficial to have Jack. I think he would be easier to put on the wing than Shane Wright.
Especially when you're betting his over-under shots. You want him to shoot more.
Yes, absolutely. Keep that line at 3, baby.
That's the funding for this podcast.
Should we just cut into that? Because that's going to be a key point when we get into hockey
This
season.
podcast brought to you by Jack Hughes' 4th shot of the day.
So, Jack Hughes, I
just won $1.10.
This will be my first of many rants about how I love Jack Hughes.
I thought you were going to say how you love gambling, but okay, fair enough.
Well, kind of. So, Podcast Cast Nation, Andrew and I found a great bet this year. For the majority of the year, Mr. Jack Hughes from the New Jersey Devils had the prop odds of 2.5 shots on goal for every game, for the most part. He hit that more often than not, making Andrew and I good money. So thank you, Jack Hughes.
I can now afford LED light bulbs.
You're coming up in the world.
His hot dogs are all beef now, so that's kind of telling you folks where Andrew's life is right
I
now.
am a Hebrew National guy at this point.
His Kool-Aid's pre-made.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Also true.
You're rich. We're Hayesville rich.
Meth in the mountains.
God damn it. Oh, that's funny. But, yeah,
Meth, the official drug of 11 p.m. mornings.
God, speaking of which, I saw plenty of that last night out and about in Derby.
Oh, how,
Wow. Do we go there?
We can talk about that later.
I'll put a note down.
Talk about
the titty bar.
I love it.
So
not the titty bar. I just love that.
So let's talk about what it actually means when the team you've been following wins a championship. So, and this will be interesting perspective from Schwammy because he was just mentioning the fact that there'd been such a gap between championships for the Avalanche. But you're also a Chiefs fan, and so tell us.
People probably think I'm a bandwagon fan saying all this right now. Oh, you're a Chiefs fan, now you're an Avs fan. It's like, who else do you root for? The Astros?
I did say the Lakers in the early aughts.
I'm not a Lakers fan though. I really don't even have a team I follow in the NBA. But anyway, you wanted me to elaborate kind of how it means?
What mean like a championship, like what you remember, maybe the difference between you following a team as a kid and you following the team as an adult, those kind of things?
Well, so like I was mentioning before when we started off the podcast, I guess when you're a kid, it doesn't. Yes, it's exciting to watch your team win. I don't know, TJ, if you remember the Cowboys winning back then, or the Devils back then, like winning cups. But is it exciting? Yes. Are you happy? Yeah, damn right you are. But as an adult, you understand more of the grind and what not only a player, but the team and the organization go through to get to that point. And so it means, I think, a little bit more as an adult because you have more perspective on the actual championship as a whole, the whole ride to it, what led up to the not only the team becoming good, but just getting to the playoffs and all the storylines. As a kid, you may not know a lot of that stuff behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff that just, you know, players put themselves through, teams as a whole go through, and stuff like that. So, and especially being a Chiefs fan where they've just been, I wouldn't say ass for a long time, but they just haven't been consistently good, kind of like a Pittsburgh Steelers, or I guess nowadays the Patriots.
And when the Chiefs lose, they do it in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, you know, they're pretty well known for losing in stupid ways. But I mean, but like as a fan, that like when you go through all of that for decades. I mean, I grew up watching them in the 90s. I became a fan. Then 2000s, watching those Dick Vermeil teams, like with Priest Holmes and all of them. Watching that team kind of tease that they were going to be a good team for years to come. But then injuries played a part. They had terrible defense. And then just the down years when they had like Matt Castle come into play.
The backup quarterback for USC.
Yeah, Scott Pioli was the GM. Also, I'm trying to think of who were the coaches back then, but I try to forget.
Was that the Cunningham at one point and coach for them?
Well, Cunningham was before Dick Vermeil. Cunningham was before Dick Vermeil, but I can look it up. But I mean, during those lean years,
I'm excited to see who these shitty coaches were.
Yeah, we have to look this up. But what I'm getting at is, as you know, just the storyline that like once you're growing up, you understand more of like what's going on day to day, kind of, and obviously it's easier now with social media. But it's, as an adult, it just means so much more, and you just appreciate the championships a lot more. And so it means God, this sounds terrible, but it means so much more as an adult because you appreciate it more. And even though it kind of sounds, I don't know, kind of ridiculous because it's sports, I mean, it's just something you follow. And I'm sure at some point, like if one of your guys' teams finally win another championship, whatever that may be, you're going to
sounded like Dad just now.
I know. Maybe someday you can experience this as well.
Thanks, Dad.
So, but you get what I mean. You're like, you'll be able to appreciate it more than when your team may have won when you were a kid. So I'm not gonna lie, and this is gonna sound sad, but I did cry when I got home afterwards. Like, it didn't hit me like until then. I know a couple people were saying, "Oh, I cried as soon as it happened," but I was like, it didn't really hit me until when I got home and was sitting in my bed, and I'm like, "Holy shit, this team actually fucking did it." So, but
I cry all the time.
Well, you cry for different reasons. But anyway, so
just trying to predict out. Just trying to see if I'm hydrated enough to produce tears.
So to go back to the point of the Chiefs. Coaches. It was like from after Dick Vermeil, it was Herm Edwards. I was trying to remember his name.
You play to lose the game.
I said Herm.
But do you remember his first game with the Chiefs? What kind of was an omen on what was about to happen with that organization? What happened that first game? That was when Trent Green went to run the ball and then went to slide and got just murdered. Like one of the Bengals players launched himself as Trent Green was sliding.
Tom Green, quarterback, Ontario.
Ottawa Senators zone. But that was that first game when he got leveled and was
that the end of his career?
Pretty much. Like it was the start of it, if
Did
not.
He ever really have?
And that was when Damon Heward took over.
Oh.
And then after that, for like 2-3 years, Herm Edwards was out, and then it was Todd Haley. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, and then Romeo Crennel for that 1 year.
I'm okay with Romeo Crennel.
He's a great coordinator, not a great head coach.
Yeah, and that was lean times. So anyway, but yeah, that was that kind of that era. So it was kind of like that's when you appreciate going through those lean times to get to that spot where you finally have a championship-winning team. Kind of looking back at being retrospective of how your team got to that point.
Andy, I don't know with your team's changing. I don't know with your team.
Because the teams, they are changing.
Speaking of your leaves, I know your teams change constantly, but when was the last time that you, and I'm not trying to talk shit, but when was the last time that a team that you rooted for won the championship?
It wasn't even my team, but to watch the Chiefs win and to watch the Royals win, to see people that I knew and my parents, to see them have that experience, they've hung in there for decades.
What, with each other or sports teams?
Oh, both. And then they finally got there with the teams. But to see what the Royals run to win the World Series was one of the most ridiculous playoff runs ever. Like, it was so unexpected. They were so, going back to playoffs that some years are better than other years in sports.
Awesome.
That was an incredible year of playoff baseball.
Well, they're 2 years that they went, because didn't they go and lose against the Giants the first time they made that run?
I think that's when Mad Bum went on his run.
Right, Mad Bum. That guy was money for a while.
Remember, the Giants win every other year on the odd years.
Was it the odd or even?
I think it was the odds.
It might be even. I feel like it's an even year thing. Anyway, continue.
So, but anyway, to watch the Royals do their thing, and after the Royals had sucked, just like they weren't even an average team for the years before that. They were bottom feeder bad, terrible. So to see those guys come up and do their thing was awesome. To see the Chiefs do their thing was awesome. It felt like the Chiefs had been just a team that was never going to get there. And even with Mahomes, it was like, they're going to find a way to screw this up. They're going to find a way to not win.
Well, kind of like their first playoff run with Mahomes when D Ford was offside.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Like shooting yourselves in the foot. Like, the Chiefs are just known to do that shit. And that's another thing. Like, as a team, or as a fan of a team that does that, you're like, finally we fucking got over that hump kind of thing. It's like, holy shit, kind of like the Avs finally getting past the second round. Eventually, whenever Toronto decides they want to get past the first round, or whenever, the Vegas Golden Knights don't want to be in cap hell, kind of that stuff, or want to treat their players better.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Or the Devils when they actually, have one good goalie out of the 20 that they have over in Russia.
Marty Brodeur Jr.
He's golfing right now.
I met Marty's son, Jeremy, when he was in camp with the
This
Thunder.
guy, that's the second time we've talked about how famous Schwammy is.
He's just casually name dropping.
Yeah.
He's
EHL,
yeah.
title guy, Marty Brodeur's son, crickets.
Did you hear who I split a cheeseburger with?
Yeah, we met at the Onion.
Tom.
Scotty Bowman.
Have you guys heard of a man named Chris Green?
Tom Green's brother from Ontario.
Yeah, no, I met Jeremy before, and he's a cool guy, very very cool. But anyway, yeah.
Then I would say the most impactful championship that I ever watched. I loved the St. Louis Rams, loved them, and going back even before that, I liked the St. Louis Cardinals as a football team. That's where my dad's side of the family's from in St. Louis, so that gave me some allegiance. Hadn't necessarily traveled to a whole bunch of cities when I was young, so St. Louis was a place I was like, okay, that could be the team. So, loved the Rams. The run that they had was unbelievable when they were the greatest show on turf. Just awesome.
They were a fun team to watch back then.
And they were another team, kind of similar to what we were just talking about, the Chiefs
Then Mark
getting over the hump. Man, to see what they did to beat Tampa Bay in just an absolute slugfest one year.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, Ricky Prohl making one of the most unbelievable catches in the end zone that you will ever see to get that game.
Yeah.
I think it was like 11-6.
It was, that was a game they showed they could win in different facets.
It was an awesome game to watch.
Those teams, were so fun to watch. 'Cause I'm glad I could watch them because the Chiefs were ass then, so I could watch a good team. When I wasn't watching them, it was fun to watch a good team play. It was fun to see that, and I guess also with your winds of change fandom. Are you still
why
kind
should
of
I have an allegiance to a team that doesn't want to stay in the city?
That's fair. So you're no longer a Rams fan though? Is that right?
No.
Okay.
So at this point, I don't even feel like I've got any.
He's a nomad.
I am kind of. I'm a bipedal.
You're a what?
A bipedal. So.
We're all bipedal, baby.
I know.
Eileen,
yes, and IHOP.
IHOP, yeah.
We're all just bipedals in this two-pedal world.
I'm a unipedal.
I met a girl the other night with a tripedal.
Is that what they identify as nowadays?
Yeah, she had like this little arm that was way too long.
That wasn't an arm, buddy.
Oh no!
It is ma'am.
Dick Smothers Jr.
It was an apple on a very big branch.
Gravity took its course. I got hit by the bottom of an apple.
His foreskin fell off.
That hurt my bipedal.
It was heavy foreskin.
It fell off 48 hours later.
That's weird as crusty.
Why 48?
I don't know.
Okay.
So anyway, back to the Rams.
You're-
and am I a fan?
No-
So I have like
And
I
he's a
like
nomad.
I'm a nomad for the Las Vegas Raiders. I hope they do well. We'll talk in future podcasts about what the Raiders have coming up as far as
No, we won't.
the AFC West being an absolute gauntlet. It's going to be insane.
I won't be available for that
When we
segment.
started this venture, and Askcasters, I just want to point this out to you. We have, and I didn't realize this when we started Askcasting. Andy, to an extent, is an Oakland Raiders fan.
It's gross.
I think it's just because he likes wearing black.
In Vegas.
And Vegas. He likes going to titty clubs in Vegas.
I also love debauchery.
And yes, general debauchery.
It should have been on the party bus last night.
Yes, General Debauchery is Admiral Debauchery's sidekick.
Admiral.
Was it Admiral? I don't know.
Second Private Debauchery.
So we have real AFC West hatred between Captain Debauchery and what I would say the Chiefs fan and Shawway would be Captain Moral Compass.
I don't know if I do after last night.
That is true.
Moral compass.
Private First Class Debauchery.
That's fair. I'm just a private.
I'm like the most responsible one here today, boys.
Yeah, because you don't leave the house.
I left last night
Why?
to go to my parents. Fuck off!
That's hilarious. Okay, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Andy doesn't really have too many allegiances anymore because,
He's a nihilist.
yeah.
But,
I mean, Adonis.
No.
a Dodonis.
Didn't we call the Dodonis the rival of the Megalodon? Last podcast or something.
As opposed to the Marion Trench.
when the dog was barking,
Yeah.
we called it the Megalodon.
Get on track, boys.
Sorry. Yeah, get on track unlike Amtrak.
Oh.
Is that too soon?
No.
All right.
I don't think anyone got hurt. I think it just pulled. Did they? I don't
No,
know.
in Missouri?
Yeah, 4 people.
Yeah.
died.
They died?
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought it was a polite tip over.
Yes, anything with a train is a polite
No,
tip
this
over.
was more of a full-fledged Thomas the Train going 100%.
Well, Thomas, he's directed mostly by emotion, so I mean that kind of gets him off the rails.
That sounds like Ringo Starr. It is Ringo Starr.
Kill John Lennon.
Oh no.
Do we have anything else to talk about today, or are we done?
I think we hit the sports part of our podcast pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll look at the extensive notes I took at 1:30 in the morning. Let's see.
While we wait.
All right, couple updates.
All right.
Oh, are you doing breaking news?
Nah, I'll get to it. I need a segue into the breaking, or I need like 5 minutes before breaking news.
Okay.
Oh, our big piece of news today.
Oh, okay.
Let's go while we're young.
Yeah, no shit.
The Ham Johnson golf balls
Oh,
have not been delivered. They were attempted delivered. There was an attempted delivery last
stuck
night.
in port.
No, in coach, in car.
Thomas the train.
Yes, in the old car. So we do not have the Ham Johnson golf balls today.
That's a damn shame.
Uh,
Just
Johnson.
Damn Johnson. Well played.
Boys, I don't know if I know I told Andy, but I had a pretty good moon seeds trip on Wednesday.
Yes, tell us, Shaman.
Well, are we to that point of the podcast?
I think we are.
I guess we can edit it. Or Shawa can edit it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Which we appreciate.
You're welcome.
I could edit it in spirit.
So Asscasters, I'm a bit of a psychonaut, so I kind of enjoy taking. Yeah, I kind of enjoy taking psychedelics. Psychedelics. So I took legal seeds that contain a compound similar to LSD on Wednesday, and this was my second time taking these seeds. And it got me so worked up. I began starting to miss my grandma and my mother, so I started crying. Don't know why. I usually don't cry.
It's okay. I've cried at the Heart version of Stairway to Heaven.
Wow. We're tackling that next.
I cried once when it was cloudy during Teletubbies.
But I was laying in bed and after Stranger Things, watching Stranger Things, which that didn't bother me on my trip while I was seeing and hearing things.
I still have not been able to catch up yet, so I cannot wait to watch.
Oh my god, Vecna is so awesome.
Anyway, so stay on track here.
So so I was in the midst of my trip and I was in bed and it was like 9:30 at night, and then I started thinking about my grandma, who is 96 years old. 95, 96. And I was like, man, I really need to go see my grandma. And I was like, man, you're a shitty grandson for not going and seeing your grandma. So I texted my grandma. I was like, hey, grandma. And I was crying, like full on crying for
What
no
a day.
fucking reason. And then I called my grandma. I was like, Grandma, where can I text her?
You called her?
I texted her. I couldn't talk on the phone. And I texted her. I was like, hey, when can I come out? And then so she said, end of July. And then that got me thinking about my own mother and my father. Sorry, Andy, you never got brought into this. Like, I didn't miss you at all. And I was like, man, I don't say I love them enough. So I called my parents and I was crying, but I didn't tell them I was crying. I said it was allergies.
Oh,
and
well.
we talked about
The hayweed was medium that day.
Oh, it wasn't hayweed, boys. So, yeah, I called my parents and we talked about R. Kelly pissing on 15-year-olds. And we ended the conversation. I told my parents I loved them, and that was basically the end of my trip. So it was a little different.
Wow!
It was
man.
a little different.
You went through all parts of the galaxy.
I did some meditation too. I think my spirit animal was talking to me.
That's Megalodon.
What is your spirit animal?
It's a turtle.
Box turtle?
Yeah.
$30 turtle from Goddard.
I always liked the turtle because he could hide in the shell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like I thought he was cool. Like I that's how you knew.
Nature's introvert.
It's nature's white trash. Like he has his trailer on top of him. So
he is his own RV park.
yeah. And he doesn't even have to rent space, that crafty bastard.
His favorite song, Wherever I May Roam.
His trailer just rolls down a hill. For you guys, if you are wanting to try the psychedelic seeds, they were legal in the state in which we live, and they are safe to take. And if you have any questions about what this thing is or what these things are, you can DM us at AskCasters on Twitter, and I will fill you in on what we did.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
So that's how I spent my week while you guys were working. What did you guys do?
Worked.
That's it?
Yeah. I mean, I went up and visited my girlfriend for the week, and I worked from her house. It was fine. Nothing crazy to report.
They have internet in Crazy Town or wherever
They actually do, even though it's like Meth Vegas up there. It's crazy that they still have dial-up. So
I thought you were gonna say dialect. I was like, wow, they're that far behind.
Yeah, they
haven't even created a functional language.
They're still in grunts.
It's grunts and moans at this point, and sometimes rock throwing.
And meth giggles.
Dude, there's some weird people up there. Like, when I'm driving up this one drag up to her house, the people that weave in and out of traffic on their own 2 feet without having a bicycle or a car is funny as hell.
You know, this leads down a path that might be edited out of this show, but
This is that section.
I always wondered.
This is where Shawley makes his money right here.
I always wondered, when did dental health become a thing? I was like, the old cave people, do you think they really gave a damn about their teeth? Like, what was natural to them? And did they ever have like a toothbrush that they used?
A toothbrush.
Or did they say, I don't need a toothbrush, I have these natural yellow looking tooths? I don't know.
Alright, so maybe I'm completely off, but I think our teeth... One, I'm going to say something and it might be completely wrong, but I think crooked teeth is an evolutionary... it's an evolutionary development.
So we used to have straight teeth?
Yeah, I think we used to have straight teeth.
If you look at like our I guess ancestors, if you look at like even as far as back as like the caveman, if you would, they had a bigger jaw than what we have now. And so I feel like that's kind of played into it, where the teeth really haven't really evolved to be smaller as fast as the jaw has become smaller. But then again, we're not experts on this shit, so who knows?
This is the AskCasters podcast where we tackle all sorts of things like
but don't take my word for it.
dental history and the space in your mouth.
Space in your mouth.
I've put worse things in there.
You are now with Natty.
And there's my first edit.
No, I'm not editing that out.
Anything else there?
I think you're the one that brought that one up.
Dental health.
history.
Sorry, I was on a little bit of a kick of teeth.
Kick of teeth.
Kick of teeth. That could be the name of the title of this podcast. Kick of teeth.
My teeth, they're awful. For any of you in Askcaster land right now, as Andy affectionately says, you could put an M80 in my mouth and straighten my teeth.
I don't think I've said that in a while.
You say it every day in my head. Every day when I wake up and look in the mirror.
TJ wakes up and he's like, call Grandma, teeth bad. Call teeth bad.
That's what I'll trip about next time. Bad teeth.
You know, I do have consistent dreams of my teeth falling apart.
I've had those dreams too.
Okay, another thing that I'm gonna just randomly say that we might be completely wrong. I can't wait for the sex bots to fact check this again. But I think, what were we talking about?
We're talking about
Teeth.
teeth falling apart in your dreams, man.
If you have a dream about teeth falling out, it means you're forgetting something or you've lost something.
Oh,
interesting.
Like my self-esteem and respect for myself.
Oh, that's long gone. Your dream is probably like a mountain meth head.
Mountain meth head. Watch out for those people.
Mountain meth.
They'll survive anything. Even a Sasquatch.
I just wake up in cold sweats and it's like, what just happened?
Yes, it's yeah. I've had those same dreams. It's so weird.
And it's not one tooth.
Mm.
It's like all the teeth.
It's like they just start falling out or
Yeah,
something
like
happening.
crumbling, and they turn into like some fine dust.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Fine dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. It's weird.
I've never had fine dust, but I have had dreams of losing my teeth.
Yeah, it's just strange.
That's a weird one. I always have the dream. Well, I used to, because therapy's helping my life so much. I used to have the dream of getting lost at work.
Oh, I have a recurring dream that's similar to something like that.
Yeah, you ever get that one, Andy?
No, I know where I'm at work.
Motherfucker.
My GPS gets me there.
So I had a client named Roosevelt. And Roosevelt.
Was he a bear?
No. Roosevelt was an asshole. And Roosevelt stole shit from Quick Trip and then sold it to kids on the street.
Well, Roosevelt was a socialist.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, Roosevelt.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, so I had a dream I was chasing Roosevelt along West Street.
I want to name a dog Roosevelt now.
That's a good dog name. But yeah, I had a dream I was
Roosevelt.
chasing Roosevelt along West Street and I could never find him.
Wow.
He was good, man.
He was good.
Yeah, he was just fucking hiding in the recesses of my memory. Never found him. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I've had weird recurring dreams. Like, I guess one, if I can, go into one, would be I'm late for a hockey game that I'm working at, like for my side gig. But one, it's at the old arena, the old Coliseum. So somehow we're playing back there. And then it's either A, I can't find my computer to play music, or I can't get my computer to work, and so I am like stressing out while I'm there, and nothing's working. And there'll be different circumstances where I'm at different spots and in the arena, but I will always have that kind of same problem. It's so weird.
Speaking of things going on close to the Kansas Coliseum, I think I had a dream once where a greyhound broke his leg during a race, and I think I started crying in my dream. I think I bet on the fucking greyhound.
Oh, so sad.
I think you might have a problem. I think when you have dreams about greyhounds breaking their legs during the race, I think that's when you have a problem.
He took the corner too tight.
Did anyone bump into him, or he just
Yeah, well, it was a combination of factors. It was that first corner, and he was just doing his thing. He was kind of like outside mid, and man, damn, right at that turn, lost a cankle. Ugh.
But so, do you remember going to the dog track? But what was that little rabbit's name that went around the track?
And here comes Ozzy.
That's what it was. I joked with my girlfriend the other day about that. Finding one and putting it in the backyard for the dogs to chase.
So, Asscasters, there is a video that is available very easily, and it is of greyhounds actually running, and an actual rabbit runs in front of them.
Oh, I saw that one.
And they all go the different direction.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
It's fucking funny because you cannot be mad at the dogs because they're trying to chase that rabbit. But then they see a real one and they're like, "Oh, we gotta go after it!"
It's a great video.
It's a straight beeline / 90-degree shot that they go from straight, going through the race course and then just beelining it towards
race course. It's F-Zero.
Sorry, racetrack.
Oh, speaking of F-Zero, Andy, I have big important news for you.
Big important news.
And
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
this is one of those weird news stories I stumbled across at 2 in the morning.
What weren't you doing at 2 in the morning? Apparently,
Y'all don't want to know.
Himself.
No, thank you.
I was tenderizing.
I don't know if I really want to know any further. That's a little too much there.
All right, so Nintendo in Japan had their not their national shareholders meeting. They had their shareholders meeting, and a concerned fan wanted to know what happened to a game that you are in love with, F-Zero?
Absolutely. We need to know.
So he bought, I believe, 40,000 shares of Nintendo.
No, I think at $40,000.
Or it's 40,000 yen. Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so $2. Okay.
He spent enough money to have a question and to be invited at the shareholders meeting. Then he asked the question to the president of the fucking company of Nintendo and asked, "When are you bringing back awesome classics like F-Zero?"
Mm-hmm.
Was there an answer given?
Probably not. Probably not a good answer.
I think I pinched my shit off by that time and I wiped, so I got up and didn't read the whole article.
Oh.
But
Thanks.
that's what I'm about, giving you not false news, but half stories. Half truths and false stories. By Scrodito Crunch.
That game needs to come back.
Yes, I agree. That would be awesome.
You know another game that needs to be remade is fucking Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have not played that in probably 25 years.
What? I mean, is it not the most unbelievable baseball game?
It is. Is it up
except
there?
except for maybe the original baseball on regular Nintendo.
Dude, I
Which
used to
was a
play.
great one.
I used to play baseball. This baseball game on ColecoVision. It might be been the same one, but that's what my dad had because my parents didn't believe in me like growing up giving us like video games to play. So I always went to my
I
friend's
thought
house
you
to
were
play.
saying your parents didn't believe in you at the start of
Well-
that sentence. I was like, wow.
It's actually pretty close to the truth.
That's how you end up here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I would have had a shot, play a junior league hockey, I wouldn't be here either. I wouldn't be living in these apartments. I would be living downtown.
Yeah, you also had no shot to play junior hockey, so here we are.
Thanks.
I mean,
You're not wrong. Anyway, but no, that if I'm thinking of the same game, I think it was. But yes, like I haven't played Ken Griffey Jr. baseball in so long, and it was such a good game. I do remember it, but I never like had that game growing up at my house. And same thing with like NHL '94. Is it on that same kind of tier as far as those sports games? Like as far as like I wouldn't say the GOATs, but like some of the better.
Ken Griffey Baseball?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, in my opinion, it
for
is.
best sports game of all time, I think we're gonna go. NHL '94 is like the all-time consensus number one, correct?
For hockey, yes. And it might be.
I think it's for everything.
Well, what about we'll contest it. We'll contest it with Ken Griffey Jr. baseball.
Here's my list. I'll just give you my. Can we do top 5?
If you want to get to 5, sure, but you don't have to.
Okay, so I'm gonna do NHL '94 NBA Jams.
I was gonna say NBA Jams. I thank you for mentioning that one. That's a great one.
Baseball. I'm gonna go Ken Griffey.
And Frogger.
Oh no, I'm not.
Frogger
gonna go,
doesn't count.
I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna go FIFA,
Oh,
What
man.
year though?
and I'm gonna go FIFA '96.
Ooh.
FIFA '96 was a great game.
I didn't play that. I played 99 and like 2000 when it was on PC. Like that was when I was playing those games. Like NHL 99 and all that. Like 98, 2000, 2001 were fun, but not on the same tier as NHL '94.
I'm gonna go Madden 2001,
Oh.
or is Madden 2005 too late?
Too late.
Is it too late? I mean, does it matter though? I mean, really, does it matter in the grand scheme of things? As far as like going back and saying what your favorite game is.
Okay, well,
I'll
that's
give you 05, but also I do think 01 is probably up there as far as like Madden is concerned. I'd have to say. And then what's your last one?
NCAA 14.
Man, football. That is
Yeah.
okay. I think 09 was a good year for that too.
Yeah.
NCAA in 09, but also I'm gonna throw a wild card for you for NCAA. I'm gonna say college baseball 2006 was fucking awesome.
They had that?
Yes, great soundtrack, fun like replay value. My brothers and I still play that on PlayStation 2. Yeah,
College baseball.
yeah.
I think I remember college.
It was a great game. And like I guess to go further to other points like NHL games, I think and I was watching videos on this, I agree with a lot of these. Like NHL 14 was probably the last fun, like great NHL game. But if you want me to be honest, like one of my favorites growing up, like in the mid 2000s, with actually NHL 2K5. Like those games, because
Oh yeah.
because not only were they $20, so they're cheap, but they also had like the ESPN like kind of layout. You had different things that you could like build towards, or as far as a to play for, like different uniforms, different arenas, different set, like all kinds of things. It had a lot for the bang for your buck, and it actually made EA like
Step
their game up and like actually try.
Yeah.
And I miss that competition with sports games, because now it's so kind of bring it back around, almost like the NBA. It's so sanitized with EA being the only, not only, but the front runner as far as sports is concerned. Video games, it's just they don't push the limits or try to do a lot of new things because they don't have to.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, everything is monetized and everything is about the almighty dollar, which it has always been, but there's also no, it seems, passion or heart that is put into a lot of video games for that genre. There's a lot out there that are for different genres, as far as like, I would say like Uncharted or stuff like that, or the games that you've been playing. What was the Borderlands?
Oh, Borderlands.
But stuff like that. But like, as far as sports are concerned, EA has really not really pushed the envelope in the last, I'd say, even decade, because they just don't have competition.
Yeah.
And there's no competition. You don't have to really try as hard. So
I think a game that Andy and I have been very surprised by pleasantly, NHL 2022. Usually we struggle with setting up the gameplay at the very beginning when you buy an NHL game, because it's too slow, and Andy he's not smart enough to use normal people controllers, so he has to use NHL 94 controllers.
Best controllers ever made.
Yes. It was easy to get into. It was easy to kind of set everything up. I was I mean, it was great gameplay. I win, so that's cool. We were both really taken aback by it. I mean, it was good. I can't speak.
yeah. So I know it's kind of like we talk about random stuff. That's just kind of how this podcast is going to be. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really like playing a lot of video games nowadays. There's just not a lot of competitors out there that really give other developers a reason to try harder. Because, like, I mean, and maybe it's just a nostalgia thing, or just kind of like looking back, wanting to be a kid again and just play video games, and everything was like just opening a whole new world no matter what game you have. But
And your meals of the day were pizza rolls and macaroni and hot dogs.
that has not
They still
that has not changed. That has not changed. But I'm just, in saying that, it's just I've longed for the days where there was more competition and it forced developers and to develop and create new and more exciting games. And I wouldn't say storylines, because I don't know. I used to play a lot of like the stories for lines for like or campaigns for like Call of Duty, Halo, stuff like that. But I'm not about that. I'm more about the online experience nowadays when I play. But it's kind of gone away from that. I don't know.
I love the story modes because I suck at life, but especially in video games. And I love the story modes because it was easy for me to get into the game and learn the buttons. And then when I did feel I was competent, we could go online and get destroyed there. I enjoyed the storylines in those kind of games as well. I know Soul Calibur was a huge one for you back in the day, Andrew.
It did. A little Devil May Cry action.
Yeah.
I guess, would you put that like the same kind of emphasis or kind of like importance on games like Duke Nukem, Doom as well, and like Quake and stuff like that? As far as like, maybe not on the like necessarily a tier list, but like stuff like.
I think they're on their own tier.
No, that's fair. But what I'm saying is, like, I guess bringing a kind of like an excitement to video games, like it just replay value. I guess because like people back then, that was their passion. They wanted to do something like that. Now it's all. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, it's always been about the money, but there was a lot more in it besides that for people back then, and I don't feel like there's games that have a lot of heart or soul to them anymore.
So we should create a game, pitch it to a developer, call it Heart and Soul.
I'm pretty sure that'd probably be some weird anime
Yeah, and it's just some guy who's 16 years old and just got broken up with his girlfriend, and he's working at a pizza restaurant. You have to organize the toppings on the pizza to get points.
I'm gonna go save the princess.
I was thinking it was more of like
Heart
I was thinking it was more of like a metaverse thing where you're a surgeon and you actually pry in and pull out someone's heart and their soul as a test surgery.
Dude, when is Operation gonna come out with the metaverse game?
I'm surprised. I bet there is one. There's gotta be somewhere.
That guy was really fat.
Was he?
The operation guy?
Yeah,
that guy laid out on the table?
Yeah, he
That guy
was.
had a lot of problems.
Well,
Looks like you on a
The
Sunday.
only thing I wish he could have taken out like his esophagus, because his
Esophagus.
esophagus.
I
I think he could have been like the only thing he didn't have going for him is like being a chain smoker.
He looks like Mo from
Look at
the
that
Three
guy.
Stooges.
That guy is got. I think he's pregnant.
He looks
Well,
like...
anyone can be pregnant nowadays.
That's true. He,
Yeah.
she, they. Yes, that's correct. Gotcha.
So they were playing the long game. They knew. And see, look, he doesn't even have like
Well, hold on. What's by his pelvis?
a dog. No.
Is there any peanut butter by there?
And a vacuum.
Also, the bread basket is right on his stomach. So, and if we look at his knee, there's water on the knee. You know, stuff like
He's
that.
got
Oh, it's not a
water,
dog. It's a Charlie horse.
I have a story about water on your knee.
Yeah.
So when I was in my drinking days, and I had my knee, I tore my MCL for you ass casters, and I had
when you were playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
No, this is when I was with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh.
So the doctor, I went into the doctor drunk, and they're like, "Hey, you need to get a sonogram on your knee." I was like, "Cool." So I went in, and they're like, "You might have a cyst," and I thought that was cancer, and I was all drunk in the fucking thing. And this is another time I got all emotional, like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna die!" Fucking-
I like how you're scribbling something when you're dying there.
Yeah, well, I was, and then I text one of my friends who
Your
works in
grandma?
healthcare now, and
Oh.
I was like, "Hey, I think it's called a Baker's cyst." She was like, "It's just water."
Oh,
I'm like, "Oh, hey."
why is it a Baker cyst?
I don't know, like, do bakers use much water? I don't know.
Well, I'm sure when
Yeah,
they
you
make
have to.
when they make like bread and stuff. I mean, anything. I guess they
You get a little flour and water, and you get some dough.
I've never baked.
Apparently, you have.
No, you bake yourself. That's about
Well, I mean, I bake cookies, but that's
it. Pre-packaged
that's
cookies.
pretty easy, boys.
What's in the microwave, TJ? Oh, those are my Girl Scout cookies.
Those are my do-si-dos,
Those are
boys.
my toasty toes.
Oh man, yes, this podcast has gone off the rail, talking from video games to bakeries.
Well, probably time to shut her down. I
Well,
think
no, we have one more topic.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's wrap
talk
it up
about
here.
politics, boys.
No,
Oh!
we are not.
I don't want you to piss off the sex robots.
And I think that's a good time to end it. So
I think we should end every podcast with that.
What, sex robots? Get pissed off?
Yeah, when the sex robot's getting pissed off at us trying to talk about politics.
Hey, so let's say I want to individually give a shout out to our sex robots. Let's see here.
Carlos Orwella is not a sex robot.
In a different way.
He's just a robot.
Ask Audrey.
Oh man, no.
Check out our go to our ass casters and figure out who our sex bots are. We need to
Hang on,
acknowledge
I'm
them.
already there.
They're kind of like the trailblazers of this podcast.
So, no, I think I think they're the same as we've had last time. We've only gained.
Yeah, but we still need to rate. They haven't got rid of us yet.
Yeah. So Ham Johnson, Denise, and then
thanks,
Pauline,
Ham.
and then Pauline.
Thanks, Denise and
But
Pauline.
but then like we got two more followers, which was you, Andy, and then Carlos. That was it.
I had a cute Asian slide into my personal DMs.
Whoa!
Yeah, 35, hanging out in San Francisco.
Do you have? Did she ask if you had two working kidneys, functioning kidneys?
Nah, just a gallbladder.
I don't have any good kidneys, but I have a pancreas if you need it.
Hey there, girl. You ever like a boy with water knees?
Have you ever had a Charlie horse?
I'll give you a baker cyst.
Played Operation Girl.
Oh God.
All right, we got to wrap this.
Is
up.
that water on your knees?
Yeah. Hey, so wrap it up. But go ahead and mention our Amazon stuff.
Asscasters, if you make any Amazon purchase, and we'll have this information more readily available on our website and our socials. But if you make any Amazon purchases, try to give us a shout out. Use the code ASSCasters-20. That is ASSCasters-20, ASSCASTER-20.
How do you spell hyphen?
I fucking hate you.
That's a weird way to spell it.
I think that's a good way to end the podcast for episode 2.
Do we need to do our ad run for Pinky Drink?
Oh,
We don't have Pinky Drink today. We have C4,
Oh, no.
we have C4 Starburst strawberry drink, and then you have your electrolyte.
Oh, they're too... Fucking the electrolyte company's too lazy to put fucking advertisement on it.
You have the flavor of grape.
It's gluten-free.
And also sponsored by Natty Light.
So we will check back in with you here in a week, and we will speak more sports and whatever else comes up. Asscasters.
See you later.